Hello Buzzers, John here. Wanted to talk to you in this quick video about a couple of tools in Photoshop CC that aren't particularly well known. In fact, I'd guess that many of you haven't even heard of them, let alone use them. The first one kind of follows on from last week's tutorial, which was all about cloning and healing and patching. And this tool is called the Content Aware Move tool. You'll find it the same place as the spot healing brush and the healing brush. There it is in the toolbox. Click on whatever is there, spot healing or healing, and you'll find the Content Aware Move tool. So we're going to select that and I'll show you how it works. All you've got to do is basically decide what element of your picture you want to move somewhere else. Now in this example, this is taken in the Lake District and that's Thirlmere. This is the path that goes up towards the top of Helvellyn. But it was quite casually captured, handheld, quick grab shot just in case, but I didn't think any more of it. But I know now that what would make it much stronger is if this foreground rock here was a bit bigger, bit more dominant, and more over towards the left. It's too central at the moment. So I could do that by cutting it out, punching it into a new selection, carefully cloning all the area behind it, moving it, enlarging it. Quite an involved process. The other alternative I have is to use this Content Aware Move tool. And all I have to do is draw around the item I want to move. So let's go around this rock. Let's go around here. Something like that should hopefully do the trick. That's made a rough selection of it. And then all I'm going to do is click and drag inside that selection and move it to where I want it to go. We then get a bounding box as soon as we release the mouse, and I can then scale it if I want to. So I can take it a bit up in size, maybe something like that, so it's a bit more dominant in the foreground. And then we're going to take Potluck and we're just going to double click inside this bounding box and see how well Photoshop can process the results. And what Photoshop's got to do is a lot of number crunching, because what it's going to have to do is first of all move these pixels over here, then it's going to have to remove these pixels, the area they came from. They've got to be removed, and that can only be done by healing and cloning and patching over the area that's left. So I'll hit double click and we'll see how it does. So I've double clicked it now and we go into the processing time. We get a taskbar coming up on screen to tell us how the progress is going. It's analysing, it's removing, and it's done the job. And that doesn't look bad at all. I'm just going to remove the marching ants by hitting Control or Command and D. And now let's zoom in and see how good the job is. And we can see that it's actually not bad at all. It looks a little bit choppy around this area. This looks a bit artificial, but I could do a bit more healing or cloning just to clean that up and make it look a bit more natural and not too kind of digital and stretched and artificial in this area. But that's not bad. If I look around the rock, you can see that that's all pretty clean. That's all looking good. It's actually done a remarkably good job. And what we've now got is a much bigger rock in a different place that improves our composition. We could also use it for other things. Let's say we want to shift this flat summit of the mountain opposite a bit further down. Well, we could try that. It looks like a tough one, but let's just select around it, something like that. We'll go around this bit as well, just so we've got a good lump of detail in the picture. We've got that area. Let's try. Let's just move it along. Let's move it to there and let go and see what happens. We'll double click inside the bounding box and the processing will occur again. First there's the analyzing stage, then there's the removing stage, and finally it'll be completed. Okay, so if we remove those marching ants with Control or Command and D, let's zoom in and see what kind of a job it's done. And that, again, isn't bad at all. That's a pretty seamless result. It's taken those pixels, moved them, and then removed the old pixels from where they were and given me a new, fresh composition. So there's a little bit of proof that with Photoshop you can actually move mountains if you want to. And I think the overall result looks pretty good. And not only was it quick and easy to do, I haven't even had to get the layers panel out. So that's the Content Aware Move tool. Really useful little device for recomposing elements within your pictures. Now the other tool I want to look at is Content Aware Scale. And that isn't in the same place. That's not under one of these tools. This is in one of the menu bars and you'll find it in the edit menu bar. But before you use it, you've got to make sure you either have an active and editable layer selected, or you've got a selection in place. So I'm going to do it the easy way. I'm just going to make sure I have a selection in place by hitting Control or Command and A. That selects the whole image, and that means I'm ready to go with this particular command. So once we've got a selection around the whole image, we go up to Edit and we move down to Content Aware Scale. Click on that and we get a bounding box, very much the same as we would with the free transform command. But what I can do with this bounding box is move things around without affecting the highly detailed areas of the image. That's easier to show than explain. What we've got in this picture is some very detailed areas like this rock and like these ferns and these scattered rocks here, and we've got some fairly low detail areas like the clouds and these areas in the distance. So what we can do with Content Aware Scale is reproportion our image without affecting the proportions of the key parts of the image. So if I want to turn this into a square crop, perhaps for use on Instagram or something like that, all I've got to do is drag in this side while holding the Shift key. That means I can break out of the proportion that's set, and I then drag in, and you see what happens. All the low frequency information is being compressed, and all the high frequency information is being left alone, or relatively left alone. It does have to affect it in some way. But so we can go to something like that, and then we'll come from the other side, again holding Shift, pull in the mouse, and what we've got now is a square crop of the image. I'll just double click that and it should hopefully progress its way through the processing and make the pixels look good and smooth and natural in the changes that have been made. And there we go. Now I can crop off the excess. All I have to do for that is to go to Image and choose Crop. That will get rid of the extra parts. Then I can hit Control or Command and D, and now let's have a look and see how good the work is. We can see there that there's no real discernible difference in the picture. It all looks quite natural. The rock has changed shape, but it doesn't look too much like it has. So I've got all the same components and the same content of the image. It's just that the low frequency areas have been squashed and the high frequency areas have been pretty much left alone. So that means I end up with a nice detailed picture with the same content, only it's turned it into a different shape. So that's a handy use of the Content Aware Scale tool and of course the Content Aware Move tool. So what I'd suggest you do is have a play with those two things, see how you want to alter your composition just for fun, and see if you can make a nice improvement in the aspect ratio of your image by perhaps cropping to a square format without affecting too much the key components of the image. So there you go, Content Aware Move and Content Aware Scale, two very clever tools that are in Photoshop CC and are well worth having a play with. Alright, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.